Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel. And today I'm going to give my review of Survivor Series 1996. Starting off the evening, we'll go to our first match of the night. It is a traditional Survivor Series matchup. It is Owen Hart, British Bulldog, Al Snow, and Marty Jannetty versus Philip LaFon, Doug Furnas, and the Godwins. Number one, I thought this was a great opening matchup for Survivor Series 1996. Back and forth matchup between both teams. Philip LaFon and Marty Jannetty both start the matchup. Al Snow ends up hitting a leg drop on Phineas. Henry Godwin then hits the finish on Marty Jannetty. Pins for the 3. Marty Jannetty is now eliminated from this matchup. Owen Hart then hits a devastating spinning heel kick on Henry Godwin. Pins him for the 3. Henry Godwin is now eliminated from this match as well. Bulldog then hits a power slam on Phineas. Pins for the 3. Phineas is now eliminated from this matchup as well. Philip LaFon then hits the finish on Al Snow, pinning him for the 3. Al Snow is also eliminated from this matchup. Philip LaFon and the British Bulldog both exchange in the middle of the ring, with LaFon hitting a roll-up on the British Bulldog, pinning him for the 3, and the Bulldog is also eliminated from this matchup as well. Owen then applies a sharpshooter on LaFon, but Doug Furnas hits a German suplex on Owen, pins him for the 3, and your winners of the match are LaFon, Furnas, and the Godwins. Hats off to that team for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is Mankind versus The Undertaker. In the beginning of this match, Paul Bearer actually came down to ringside. He was actually locked in a cage, hovering over the ring throughout the duration of this match. The match itself was a really good matchup. Undertaker was obviously keeping the pace of the match. Mankind hits a senton off the apron on Undertaker. It looked absolutely brutal. Mankind then hits a devastating pile driver on Taker. Undertaker then gets up, hits his signature old school on Mankind. Mankind then gets up, applies his mandible claw on the Undertaker. Undertaker breaks the hold by hitting a choke slam on Mankind. And then Undertaker hits his signature tombstone pile driver on Mankind, pinning him for the 3. And your winner of the match is The Undertaker. Hats off to The Undertaker for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is another traditional Survivor Series matchup. It is Jerry Lawler, Crush, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, and Goldust versus Marc Mero, the Stalker, who's actually Barry Windham, Rocky Maivia, who makes his WWE debut, and Jake the Snake Roberts. Again, like I said, this was Rocky Maivia's WWE debut. The match itself was a relatively good matchup. Back and forth matchup between both teams. Rocky Maivia and Hunter both exchange in the middle of the ring. Jake then hits a signature clothesline on Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Jake then also hits his DDT on Jerry Lawler, pinning him for the 3. Lawler is now eliminated from this matchup. Goldust then hits a curtain call on the Stalker, pins him for the 3. The Stalker is now eliminated from this matchup. Marc Mero then hits a hurricanrana on Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Mero also hits a moonsault off the top rope on Hunter Hearst Helmsley as well. Pins him for the 3. Hunter Hearst Helmsley is now eliminated from this match. Crush then hits the finish on Marc Mero, pinning him for the 3. Mero is now also eliminated from this match. Crush then hits Jake with the Heart Punch, pins him for the 3. Jake Roberts is eliminated as well. Crush then goes to hit a Heart Punch on Rocky Maivia, but instead hits Goldust. Rocky then hits a crossbody on Crush, pins for the 3. Crush is now eliminated from this match as well. Rocky then hits a shoulder breaker on Goldust, pins him for the 3, and your winners of the match. Well, winner of the match is, I guess, Team Rocky Maivia. A couple things I'm going to say about this matchup quickly. Number one, it was great to see The Rock debut in WWE. Obviously, I don't think WWE really knew what they had with Rocky Maivia at that time. I mean, he went on to have a fantastic WWE career as the years went on. And the other one, too, was the Stalker. I thought it was kind of funny that they didn't announce him as Barry Windham. They did during commentary. You can hear him on commentary talking about Barry Windham, but he came out known as the Stalker. Jake Roberts was the surprised partner for Marc Mero's team. But again, hats off to Marc Mero, the Stalker, Rocky Maivia, and Jake the Snake Roberts for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Bret Hart. It was a great match. Back and forth matchup between both Stone Cold Steve Austin and Bret Hart, with Bret Hart keeping the pace of the match. Austin applies a $1 Million Dream on Bret Hart, but Bret Hart ends up hitting a roll-up on Stone Cold Steve Austin, pins him for the 3, and your winner of the match is Bret Hart. Hats off to Bret Hart for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is another traditional Survivor Series matchup. It is Farouk, Razor Ramon, Diesel, and Vader versus Savio Vega, Yokozuna, Flash Funk, and Jimmy Superfly Snuka. A couple of things I'm going to say about this matchup. Number one, yes, Razor Ramon and Diesel were in this match, but they were actually the fake Razor and Diesel, which I thought that was an absolutely horrible idea to still bring back Razor Ramon and Diesel after both Kevin Nash and Scott Hall already moved on to WCW for bigger and better things. So having Kane come out as Diesel was absolutely horrendous. And then the fake Razor Ramon, I don't know who that was, but my God, that guy could not wrestle to save his life. He really couldn't, man. And being a Razor Ramon fan, it was hard to watch the so-called Razor Ramon, the imposter, betraying Scott Hall. It was just absolutely brutal to watch. Now, the match itself was an okay matchup. Flash Funk and Vader end up starting the match. Funk hits a spin kick on Vader. Funk also hits a moonsault off the top rope on Vader on the outside. Razor Ramon then hits a fallaway slam on Savio Vega. Farouk then hits a devastating spinebuster on Flash Funk. Diesel then hits a jackknife powerbomb on Savio Vega, pinning him for the 3. And Savio Vega is now eliminated from this matchup. Snuka then hits a Superfly off the top rope on Razor, pins him for the 3. Razor is now eliminated from this match. And then this match ultimately ends in a double disqualification because the whole fight happened. Diesel hit a bunch of people with chairs, and the referee called it a double disqualification. Like I said, it was an okay matchup. And to be honest with you, I wasn't a big fan of it right off the bat, just based upon the fact that it had the fake Diesel and the fake Razor. But again, we didn't get a clear-cut winner, and the match ends up ending in a double disqualification. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is the main event of Survivor Series 1996. It is Shawn Michaels defending the WWE Championship against Sid Vicious. I thought this was a relatively good matchup. Back and forth matchup between both Michaels and Vicious, with Psycho Sid keeping the pace of the match. Shawn and Sid both exchange in the middle of the ring. Shawn is working on the legs of Sid Vicious. Sid then grabs the camera, ends up hitting Jose Lothario with the camera, knocking him down off the apron. Shawn then hits a super kick on Sid Vicious. Shawn then goes for a crossbody, but he missed, ends up hitting the ref. Sid Vicious ends up capitalizing on this, hitting his signature jackknife powerbomb on Shawn Michaels, pinning him for the 3, and your winner of the match, and at that time, new WWE Champion, is Sid Vicious. Hats off to Sid Vicious for getting the win in this matchup. A couple of things I'm going to say about Survivor Series 1996 before I get out of here, man. Number one, I'm a big fan of the Survivor Series pay-per-views. I think it's absolutely phenomenal. I love the traditional elimination matchups for Survivor Series. I always love them because you never know what you're going to get and who's going to team up in those matches, and it always makes for really good matches and entertaining matchups. The other thing, too, is the Stone Cold Steve Austin Bret Hart match. Absolutely phenomenal, man. To be honest with you, them two, probably one of the best rivalries I've seen in a very long time between Stone Cold Steve Austin and Bret the Hitman Hart. And the main event, Shawn Michaels versus Sid Vicious. I'm not going to sit here and say that I think Sid Vicious, this might be a hot take, I think Sid Vicious was a little bit underrated. Due to the fact that, yeah, he was a big man, but he wrestled all over the world, man. He wrestled from WCW, WWE. He even had a little stint in ECW. I feel like he was severely underrated. Now, a lot of people say that Sid Vicious didn't really want to be a wrestler. He just wanted to, come into WWE and beat people up, or ECW, whatever. But the stigma around Sid Vicious and who he was, the character, everything else, and how he portrayed the character was very good. In my honest opinion, I think Sid Vicious should be up there in the upper echelon of some of the biggest big men in professional wrestling. With the likes of Vader, Yokozuna, Bam Bam Bigelow, those type of guys. And I think Sid Vicious needs to be in that upper echelon of that as well and be a part of that club, because I think Sid Vicious was severely underrated. And it might be a hot take for most people, but Sid Vicious, for what it's worth, put on entertaining matchups, man. You never knew what you were going to get with Sid Vicious. The powerbomb, the jackknife powerbomb, was an absolutely devastating finisher. And I just feel like he didn't get enough credit where credit's due, man. So I definitely think Sid Vicious was severely underrated, in my honest opinion. But as far as Survivor Series 1996, man, there was a lot of good matches. Like I said, the main event was very good. And if I had to give Survivor Series 1996 a rating from 1 out of 10, I'm going to give it a solid 6.5, man. I'm not going to sit here and say this was the worst Survivor Series, but it definitely wasn't the best. Some of the traditional Survivor Series matchups were kind of bland, if you ask me. I mean, the last Survivor Series matchup that we got on this card was Farouk, the Fake Razor, Fake Diesel, and Vader versus Savio Vega, Yokozuna, Flash Funk, and Jimmy Superfly Snuka. I don't know why it was booked. I could have done without it. Obviously, the main event was very good. Brett versus Stone Cold Steve Austin was another really good matchup. And that's probably the main reasons why I'm giving this a 6.5 at best. Like I stated, man, it definitely wasn't the worst Survivor Series, but it damn sure was not the best. But this is my review of Survivor Series 1996. I hope you guys are out there staying safe. Be careful, and remember, stay classic. Peace.